I am certain that one of the top questions that you all have is, how is rent going to be affected because of COVID-19? And what's going to be happening with that? What I'd like to do, I have Julie Hess, who's our bookkeeper, and many of you probably know her, either through talking with her on the phone or emailing. But Julie is our head bookkeeper, and she's the one that monitors on a daily basis, multiple times, what is going on with our rent, how it's comparing to other months, and everything that way. So, Julie, I know you're here somewhere, but are you okay? Can you unmute, and then we can have you share your update?
I did. So now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have been busy this morning paying owners as much as I can. And so far, I've paid probably half of them. I'll do the rest this afternoon and in the morning. But the payments are looking good as far as the month. I actually didn't think it was going to be this good with all this going on right now. But as far as the delinquencies that we have, half of them is commercial. So, you know, the commercial was even hit pretty bad on this. So, but most of the tenants, Allison has already worked a deferment plan with them. And so they're going to pay so much this week, so much next week, or the week after that. So the money will come in. And there's been like 2 other ones that notified us today that they are getting assistance from either their church or something like that to get the rent paid. So this month, most of my owners, or most of our owners, will have their payment by the 10th. If you do not get an ACH payment, as Brad was saying, definitely email me. I need your bank information, everything like that. And if you don't, a check will get mailed out, but there will be a $10 fee for the checks every time. So, but like I said, the rent payments for April look really good. So we'll have to wait and see what the next month brings.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Julie. And we will be providing a few different documents and links to you all, to all of our owners tomorrow. And it will have all of our contact information at the office as well, with direct lines to Julie, to Allie, to myself as well. So you don't need to go through the phone system or anything that way. It'll have our direct lines in there that you can reach out to us on those items. But we are very, very pleased with how rent has come in this month. On a national level, the single family market is faring better than the multifamily market right now. As of this morning, there was a report showing that it is up to 30% delinquency for the month of April. But I was in a conference call just yesterday with probably about 4 dozen single family owners from across the country. And their average delinquency as of April has been similar to ours. And ours is below 5%. I mean, it's a very small amount, but those that have been affected most are the commercial sector for our business. We have a number of small business owners that they definitely have been affected because of this, because they may not even be able to open their businesses. But we're very pleased to report that April rent has been going really well. As far as our office goes, we do team huddles and team meetings very regularly during the week, but Julie monitors the rent very, very closely. And so we are so appreciative of Julie for her efforts to do that. And Allie works incredibly hard with tenants that may run into an issue. And I'd like to turn the time over to Allie now to talk about how that works, because if someone does run into an issue, what options do they have? And also what has changed on what we can do as far as notices, evictions, things like that. So Allie, I'm going to look for you on here. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, we should be good now.
Yep,
Okay,
you're good.
perfect. So I put together some notes. I have been in quite a few webinars with the attorneys and digested all this information to try to simplify it for you as the owners. But if any of you have questions on this, you're definitely welcome, to reach out to me via email or phone, one-on-one. That's not a problem at all. So one of the things is that some owners have been reaching out to us and they were worried, the governor's directive here in Utah had said that residents can waive their rent. Although what he said in the press conference was a bit confusing on the way he worded it, what he put in the executive order was very clear that rent is not abated, rent is not waived. Renters in Utah can simply request a rent deferment up through May 15th. That date was set in place because that's the date that is anticipated that Utahns will have income coming in from applying for unemployment insurance. Businesses can have income coming in from SBA loans they apply for, and the recipients of the stimulus checks should all be sent by that time, whether it's a hard check or a direct deposit in the mail. So, and we anticipate rent deferments to only really happen for April and May, although they're very, very minimal. In the governor's address that he gave to Utahns, he did outline that because of Utah's robust economy for the last 10 years, our reserves are at record highs. And so he strongly encouraged all employees that have had income interruptions to apply for unemployment insurance and for small businesses to apply for SBA loans because they're going to cover 100% of lost income instead of the standard 60% of lost income for unemployment insurance. How it works if a renter needs a rent deferment, a renter needs to apply for it and qualify for it, just like how they apply to rent a property from us. Each management company establishes their own criteria for that. Our criteria outlined that the renter needs to show how all the parties on the lease have been directly impacted from COVID, and that all the parties on the lease have exercised their right to apply for unemployment insurance. So, and the reason we did that is because we didn't want them to say, oh, I have a hardship, Welch, Randall, fix it for me. We felt it was their responsibility to take all the options that they could and exercise those to bring in additional financial benefits to cover during this just temporary interruption. Rent deferment agreements have outlined that any financial benefits renters receive, including stimulus checks, funds from churches, other sources, etc., 100% of those funds have to go to rent. So it's working so far. I had about 13 of our properties was all that reached out to me, anticipating they would need it. 8 of those people withdrew and did not need it, and only 5 rental deferment agreements were signed. And I sent all those to the owners, and those owners are aware. It's really good that our company has not had a lot of rent deferment agreements, and we honestly have been really happy and pleased that we've not been impacted negatively at this point. There are just a few renters, as Julie mentioned. There are 3 on my radar right now, and that's really low, for the 350 rentals, which is very good. It did not apply for rent deferment and were impacted, so they should have applied, but they're still working and communicating with me, and so we're anticipating those to resolve. As far as how we can handle delinquencies, I've been talking with a lot of the owners, and we can handle delinquencies legally one of 2 ways. When the CARES Act, the C-A-R-E-S CARES Act, that's the stimulus act, okay? And all of you know about that. So that act has 4 pages in it that cover eviction. Now, while the federal government in mind was trying to prevent banks from foreclosing on owner-occupied properties, they did not include verbiage in there that exempted rental properties. So subsequently, what's happened is that act covers rentals if a tenant is delinquent. So if the owner has a mortgage and that mortgage is federally backed, which is very likely the way the act was written, we are not able to serve a 3-day notice to pay or a notice to vacate until the act expires July 25th. Now, we only mention that so that you're aware, but we are not really worried about that right now. The only impact we're likely going to have is that with renewals, we can't tell them just for, about 100 more days, okay, renew this lease, and if you opt not to, we're going to move you out and re-rent the property. So I'll go through that a little bit more in lease renewals. But if a property is owned outright, then the property fund falls under our Governor Herbert's executive order. And all that says is that rent deferments can happen up through, May 15th. And once May 15th comes and goes, we can follow our normal protocol. So, across the board, it's been kind of sixes either way. Owners just let me know. If you have a mortgage, we're essentially treating it that it falls under the CARES Act. So even if a resident is having trouble paying, I'm still in active communication with them. We are really a solution-based company, and we're really involved with our renters, and our renters are aware of that. And our renters, they know that we are following up with them and we're working with them, and they have been very forthcoming and very responsible in communicating. So as a company, collectively, none of our staff has a lot of worry about, even if an owner has a mortgage on the property and we could not serve a 3-day notice to pay, we're not really worried about an owner staying in the property through July 25th and not paying at all. We don't anticipate that's going to happen. If a worst case scenario does, I don't think it's going to, but if it does, I will be in touch with you as owners. But we just want to really rest assured, because we only anticipate rent deferments to happen through April and May, it's probably going to be just a short temporary impact on us for our clients. And so we don't want you to worry. We want you to rest assured with that.
Great. Thank you so much, Allie. And we had a question come in that was an excellent question. So Tyson, he said, have we clarified to tenants that this is rent deferment, not rent forgiveness? And when all of these rent deferment programs came out, what you probably saw on the news and on social media is rent is forgiven, or you don't have to pay rent because of these executive orders that have come through. There's a lot of confusion that occurred with that. Every week we send out a letter to our tenants that is a COVID-19 update. And within those updates, the last one that we did, and it was Friday the 3rd of April, we specifically outlined what the rent deferment program is and what it isn't. So it is absolutely not rent forgiveness. And so you as owners we want to make sure that you recognize that it is not a rent forgiveness program. It is literally a short-term rent deferment. And so there are a lot of protections still in place for you as landlords and for us as a management company. And yes, we are communicating that with tenants. Now, every week there's new developments with COVID. And so that's why we are doing the weekly check-ins with tenants. But I will say that we are preparing for those worst case scenarios, because inevitably something is going to